the International Skating Union, in 1960 Mongolia, and in 1964 New Zealand and Bulgaria. Ernst Leben was elected president, but died after only a few weeks in office, to be succeeded by Jacques Favart, who was in the chair during a period of significant change. The World Championships in 1961 were canceled, rescheduled 1 year later in the same city, Prague. U.S. television paid $5,000 for the rights to the championships, which proved to be special, in part because of Donald Jackson.
He had the eye of an eagle. I used to ask other pupils to watch this fellow when he came back from doing any double or triple jump. Watch his eyes. And you look like you're looking at an eagle. I mean, the focus was so sharp and severe that nothing going to get away from his balance line, his control. You know, you take your finger and just turn it into the ground, and that's the way his feet found the ice. This fellow would go up in the air, and his landings would just be like that. Absolutely, it's just the core, the center of a hurricane is motionless. And that's where his landings were. Absolute neutral. Fabulous.
Donald Jackson is famous for being the first skater to perform a triple Lutz.
Sheldon Galbraith left it up to me to decide whether or not I would do the triple Lutz. And when we went to Prague and I had to do the triple Lutz jump, he wasn't pushing me to do it, but I wanted to do it, and I knew I could do it. And it's funny, I hear people say, if you want to do something, you can do it, if you really believe you can. And I look back now, and I don't know how I would even take the chance of doing it, only doing it 5 times in my life. And then between Christmas and March, I did my 6th one, which was the World Championship. It's just because I knew I could do it, and so I do believe that if you really put your mind to something, you can do it.
Prague was also the site of a fateful collision by this German couple. Undaunted by their tragedy, the pair won the Worlds in 1963 and 1964. Prague was also where this Canadian couple returned to the country of their births to win the World Pairs Championship. And Prague in 1962 was where Sjoeke Dijkstra of Holland won the first of her 3 consecutive World Championships. In speed skating, the athlete who ushered in the decade of the 60s was Norway's Knut Johanneson, whose career spanned nearly a full decade. He won 2 world titles and Olympic gold. The important thing about speed skating to Johanneson, friendships made.
We was 6 boys in Skå Valley. We meet every year. I have a meeting with our wife, and we talk about Skå Valley and other things. So we have had meeting since 60, and we are meeting tomorrow, next year too.
Probably because of the success of the Soviets, training in all sports became more studied and intense. This was true in speed skating. The Netherlands' Kos Verkerk, a 2-time world champion, 1966, 1967, Olympic gold medalist in the 1500 meters in 1968, was one person who, because of the weather conditions, was unable to train exactly the way he wanted. Verkerk had to work out on a hockey rink.
And then in 62 December, it was normal ice in Holland. It was maybe 1 in the 5 or 10 years there was ice outside. And there was a district championship. And I get the 3rd place. And then I was invited to the Dutch championships in Groningen. And I get the 4th place there. So my life was changed because I was in my father's pub in the restaurant, And they called me from the skating association and said, you have to go to Norway because you are the 4th best skater in the country. And that was also the start for my skating career. If not the ice winter has been there in '62, then I was never been a skater.
Traditionally, the Dutch went to Norway to train. Because of Norway's more northerly climate, the season there was longer, training conditions more predictable. Norway, for nearly the entire century, had been speed skating's finishing school. This changed with the advent of artificial ice and covered stadiums. Among those who went to Norway to train was Korsbergkirk's competitor and friend, 3-time world all-around champion, Ard Schenk.
We went around Christmas time. We always went to Norway because you have much more stable conditions there. In Holland, you can have a winter time with storms and rain, so that's not so good conditions to train. In my time, well, there were a lot of friendships. We came there in summertime also, and besides that, Norway is a fantastic country to go to train, to be on vacation, and well, I like the Norwegians. Yeah.
Ard Schenk won 3 gold medals at the Sapporo Olympics, and after Sapporo, he joined a professional speed skating racing circuit.
That was back in 1972 when we had the trial for creating a professional speed skating league introduced by an American, I've forgotten the name, and he took obviously the best skaters from the Sapporo Games in 1972, and of course that was a hard attack on speed skating when all the best skaters just left the ISU.
4 young men, all former junior champions in Norway, revived speed skating for their country. The best known of the 4, the 1974 world champion, Sten Stenson.
It was 4 Norwegian speed skaters, and they call us the 4S. It was Storholt from the north in Norway, and Sjøbrenn and Stensson from Oslo, and me from Drammen, a city close up to Oslo in the south. And together we was a very good team at that time.
Sten Stenson was the only one of the 4 S's to win a world all-around championship, that in 1974. But the Norwegian boys dominated European speed skating for a decade. The 4 S's won a total of 6 European championships, with Storholt and Stensson winning 2 each. Stenson skated brilliantly on the ideal surface of the oval at Alma-Ata, proving that world record times on that track were also possible for skaters other than those from the Soviet Union. Victory for Sten Stenson, a record time in the most grueling of all races, the 10,000 meters. 14 minutes, 38 seconds. Timekeeping makes speed skating perfectly objective. Figure skating is turned over to the imperfectly subjective. With the judges wearing skates, Madge Sires competes at the turn of the century. The demise of compulsory figures in figure skating remains a controversial issue. Until 1947, 12 figures were executed, 60% of the total mark. Skating outside in fresh air, skaters developed strength, techniques decidedly different. In 1948, the number of figures skated was reduced by half, 6 figures, but the ratio remained 60-40. Skating indoors, a more refined and precise style of figures execution evolved. Advances in free skating technique put a pressure on this traditional but essential aspect of the sport. last great figure skater may have been a young woman from Vienna.
I love to do figures. It's the first thing, and then I'm always thinking during my figure what I have to do with my arms, with my free leg, and I watch always if the trace is all right.
And specifically on the size of that figure, it seemed rather small to me, beautifully traced and round.
Yes, it looks is a small size, and I like to do figures not too big.
You have a more secure edge.
Yes.
It is a very solid position that you take at that beginning when you cross your legs and lock yourself right into that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's wonderful to see.
From 1973, the compulsory figures became progressively less important in deciding a champion. In 1990, following the World Championships in Halifax, they ceased to be a consideration at all. Zelka Semeja of Yugoslavia skated the final figure. ISU Vice President Joseph Dedic knows how difficult it was and is to make changes.
They were the same in the year 1914, just with the beginning of the First World War, and they were the same in 1948 after the Second World War. But during the last 20 years, what everything happened in our rules and in our even opinions, and that what we think that we, of course, these were big fights. It's not very easy to try to break something and to say that the new way is the best one.
There always seem to be problems marking figures. Years ago, judges didn't have only the weather to contend with. Skaters changed their minds, not liking an original patch of ice, for instance. Snowfalls had to be taken care of, testing the competitors' concentration. Judges have always been dedicated. The judges of today don't have to sit on or step onto the ice, but that hasn't made the job any easier. Years ago, the fear of skaters crashing into judges was always there.
It happened because the judges were sitting not outside of the ice surface. We were sitting in the chairs inside the ice surface. And of course, if a skater fell down, so it really happened that he took 2 or 3 judges with him, and that was a catastrophic situation.
Judging pressures today are different.
The media pressure is tremendous, and also from the sport itself. But you have this feeling that you look around and there are cameras everywhere, so that if you sneeze, it's recorded around the world. And so you feel that pressure, that all these eyes, the eyes of the world are upon you. I suppose they were before, but maybe you weren't quite as aware. There weren't quite so many eyes.
Both speed and figure skating were once outdoor sports exclusively. There is a memory of those times and a buildup of a tradition in Davos. In Davos, skaters like Mathisen, Thunberg, Mikhailov, Schenk, and Lila Shue Nelson set world records. They had those perfect moments. Results for a speed skater are intimately connected to the track. Figure skaters, on the other hand, have judges to reckon with.
If you want to come out and to show yourself, you have to do something eccentric, you have to do something new, you have to have something would take you out of the lot, even if it is to be badly marked, since you create a sensation so that the people remember you and you are not mixed with everybody else. After the people start looking at you, you prove what you can do, and then you have to be good. The people who told you, take it off, why do you do that, you should not, oh la la, they would be the first one to say, oh, what a marvelous idea.
Thor Cranston for me was one of those skaters who tried to do something more than all other skaters. But in some ways it was even Sonja Henie, because Sonja Henie, her skating was not based on jumps and spins only, but even she tried to express the music by movement, even if in a very maybe I would like to say primitive form, but it was at that corresponding to that period, it was a little bit easier, a little bit simpler, but it was a beginning of that what we want to have in the future.
Two men had major impact on the direction of men's figure skating. Both have been called artists more than athletes. Joseph Dedich mentioned one, Taller Cranston, who never finished higher than third in a world championship. The other was a brilliant artistic skater from England. John Currie brought a new dimension to the artistic form of figure skating. It was in 1976 when he put it all together to win the European and World Championship along with an Olympic gold medal.
Well, it was a good year for me because in many ways it meant that I had got my act together, if you will. For a long time I'd been trying to win world titles and it had eluded me. But this last year I got my technique and my stamina and my concentration and my school figures and my free skating performances to a fairly good overall standard.
Isabelle and Paul Duchesne led a different kind of skating revolution. Skaters like Dubieff, Albright, the Protopopovs, Cranston, Currie, Torvill and Dean, and of late Isabelle and Paul Duchesne, under the guidance of Christopher Dean, have extended skating into the realm of dance. This choreography, titled Reflections, was skated at the European Championships in Sofia in 1991. It didn't achieve its goal of the European title. The Duchenes changed the routine prior to winning the World Championship in Munich that same year. But Reflections is indicative of the changing aesthetics of the skaters, changes which reflect the alterations in the world at large. Costumes have been a talisman of change in ice dance. But consistency in performance led Natalia Bestemianova and Andrei Buchan to 4 world championships and 1 Olympic title. Costumes and good skating were also a factor in worldwide appreciation of Katarina Witt, the 4-time world and 2-time Olympic champion, who for nearly her entire career was coached by Jutta Müller.
Well, I remember when my coach before Frau Müller, when she said, "You are going to Frau Müller now," I start crying because I saw her working with the athlete on the ice, and she was really tough, and I thought, oh my God, how could I make it? But she was really fine to me, and it was okay, you know. I mean, she is tough, but she has to be like that, and I always needed it. And I know without her, I never would be that good. They mostly look at like that. I had the sexiest costumes and I look pretty and all these things. And at the beginning it was fine for me, but then I was really mad about this because I said, come on, I won because I was the best.
Katarina Witt represents a significant list of champions from the German Democratic Republic that included Gabriele Seifer, Sonja Morgenstern, Christina Rath, and Annette Putsch. Also from the same country came this figure skater turned speed skater, Karin Kanya. Her record was impressive. 5 World All-Around Championships, 6 World Sprint Championships. She and her German teammates completely dominated the world of ladies speed skating during the 1980s. Andrea Schoen won world championships in 1983 and 1985. Constance Moser won a world championship in 1989. Jacqueline Borner in 1990. Krista Rottenberger won world sprint championships in 1985 and 1988. The German girls won a total of 90 medals, 39 of them gold. During the 1970s, Luxembourg and Belgium entered the International Skating Union world. Without a doubt, the most startling debut in the history of speed skating was that of Eric Hyden. This is Hyden racing at Bislett shortly before the stadium was closed to speed skating. The Hydens were a great skating family, Eric and his sister Beth.
I was about 7 years old when I started, and there was a club in our hometown.
And Eric?
I started the same year that Beth did, and so I was 8 years old, and both of us participated in the city races where we come from, and the club just asked us to come out after those races.
Men variert.
For us, after a while, to go out and train all the time, it almost has to be like a job where you just set aside time every day, same time, to go out and train.
But the training is varied throughout the year. You know, in the summer we do running and bicycling, but then in the winter we skate.
And skate they did. Beth Hyden won a world championship in 1979. Her brother Eric won everything. Twice he was the world junior all-around champion. He won 4 world sprint championships. And he won the world championships in 1977, 78, and 79. The distance made no difference. This is 10,000 meters. The crowd at Bislett loved this very strong American.
I've seen him become 3 times in one season world champion. He became world champion all round, he became world champion sprint, and he became world champion junior in one season. So that's impressive, that's really impressive. He was very great.
He was so good that nobody else thought it was possible to beat him.
The American, he was outstanding. And he skated as fast as he had to do in the longer distances just to win. And if he had been skating in the 1990s, I think he would have been the fastest, because Eric Hyden is the best skater the world has ever seen.
No one in the world of speed skating has been so unanimously praised. Hyden embodied the qualities of both the short track sprinter and the classical long-distance racer. Eric's greatest moment was in the 1980 Olympic Games in Lake Placid. The man in the golden suit won an unprecedented 5 gold medals.
What a story he has been. There is Hyden now, well ahead of Olympic record pace with 3 laps remaining. That left leg digging in hard. Look at the powerful legs of this young man. 21 years old from Madison, Wisconsin. His younger sister, Beth, despite the pre-Olympic hype for the 2 of them, has come up with 1 bronze medal anyway in women's competition. But this man right now seeking to become the first athlete ever, male or female, to win 5 gold medals in the same Olympic Winter Games. What a story Eric Hyden has been. There is the bell lap for Hyden. Under 14 minutes, the Olympic record 14:50.59. The world record 14:34.33. That was set at the altitude of 9,000 feet in Medeo, the Soviet Union, and not many recognize that as being valid. But Hyden's on a tremendous pace now. Despite having gone through 4 pressure-packed races to win golds, he's got plenty left here. He will do the final lap in about 40 seconds. The opening lap was a little over 38. It shows you the strength of Eric Hyden. Here comes Eric Hyden now. His final moment of glory at the Olympic Games in Lake Placid. A winning time of 14 minutes.
Eric Hyden launched speed skating into the 1980s, and several countries joined the ISU. Chinese Taipei in 1983, along with Hong Kong. In 1987, Greece and Mexico. In 1988, Thailand. Olaf Poulsen was appointed president of the International Skating Union in 1980 and has overseen a decade of major activity. In speed skating, traditionally, North Americans have excelled in the shorter races, the Soviets and the Europeans in the longer distances. In this race, in Trondheim in 1984, Gaetan Boucher skated what many have termed was one of the great races of all time. It was the final 1,000 meters in the World Sprint Championships. His opponent, Sergei Klubnikov of the Soviet Union.
16:91 voor de Canadees, die nu echt gaat rijden, alles of niks. En zo hoort het ook bij de sport. Dat zien we te weinig wat de Nederlandse deelnemers betreft.
Gaetan Boucher explains how he won.
Echt, het is alles of het is niks.
Strategically, everything went well because I had the outside lane, so I knew I wouldn't see him at the start, you know, in the outside corner, and I thought, well, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can for the first 200 meters and try to leave him behind so that he starts chasing me. And then by having the second outside corner, I could go right behind him and draft behind him, and that's exactly what happened. And you know, I was able to draft behind him and then put a lot of distance in that beginning of the second lap. And so he was always kind of chasing me. And if he had settled down and skated his own race and not worried about the way I was skating, maybe he would have, you know, won the championship. But he probably panicked a little bit, and because I was, you know, so far ahead, and I won by .49. So.
Just a great race.
One of the great North American sprinters in recent years, Bonnie Blair of the United States.
She's skating alongside Zofia Tokachik of Poland. Blair should be fully aware of the physical demands in this race. She's working on a phys ed degree at Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. Blair with a very quick split, quicker than Rottenberger. Now, can she keep up the pace? The key to increase the speed, but don't lose the control. Again,
The race in
Blair
Calgary
starting with the
was a special one for
the
Bonnie Blair.
to finish on
Probably
the
the
outside.
one that
She's
sticks
going
out in my
very
mind the most would be my 500 in Calgary. And, you know, I think in a sense, whenever you're skating, whenever you're in a competition, you strive for perfection. And to me, that was as close to perfect as a race that I've ever had. And that's a race I'll go back and I'll watch over and try to learn from it. I mean, I can even learn from watching my own skating. And that's something that I feel has helped me even since skating that as close to perfect race as possible.
One of the consummate stylists in speed skating today is Johan Olav Koss of Norway. He describes what he feels is his perfect race.
You get the feeling of you can just skate and skate and skate. You can just go for it. You can say it's a feeling that brings you further on. You never get tired, and you can just press every little strength in your body out of it, so you can just pass your limit, if you say so. And that's a very great feeling. It happens when you're in very, very good shape, and also when you are very motivated for the race. Then it can be happen. I had the feeling in the last year's World Championship, especially the 10,000, the 1,500 and 10,000 Sunday was great for me. I did a world record in 10,000 during the race, and I felt like flying, and I could just skate and skate and skate. It's history to be a skater in Norway. I think so. It's so. We have been. It have been so many skaters, and you feel it when you talk to people, because they have always been interested in skating. It's always a big interest, and they know the talks about the history, about the old skaters, and also about the fights they had, and all that's. You feel historically. It's a great feeling to be among these guys.
During the 1980s, there is no doubt the focus in figure skating, particularly for the men, was the jumping competition.
And skating behind him is the leader, David Santee. What a great beginning with a triple let's jump and a triple toe. And he knows he must go all out for that gold medal.
Scott Hamilton won 4 world championships and 1 Olympic gold medal.
Expected to be the favorite to win the world championship. could very well be 1.5 minutes away from the World Championship.
Brian Orser's only championship was an emotional one.
When Orser defeated this man, tonight was Boitano's night.
Yeah, unbeatable. Nobody does it better than he does. A dazzling triple axel. Appear that with this program, that there is a spiritual quality which makes it that much more spectacular.
Watch the expression on Brian Boitano's face now at the conclusion of this remarkable program. He knows.
The Battle of the Bryans in Calgary went to the two-time world champion, Boitano.
19,000 people watching him in the...
Kurt Browning won 3 world championships, 1989, 1990, 1991. The newest members of the International Skating Union, Turkey, Croatia, Israel, Slovenia. Recent history strongly indicates there will be more new members. 1992 marks the centenary of the International Skating Union, whose life as an organization almost parallels the 20th century. By comparison, the International Skating Union world seems as if it is the calm eye of the storm. The rules and directions of speed and figure skating are controlled and guided by the union. But the future lies here, in performances like these from the 1992 Speed Skating and Figure Skating Championships. In 1992, the all-around title in the men's championships went to Italy for the first time. Italy had won only 1 speed skating medal in 100 years. During the 1988 Calgary Olympics, East German women won 9 of 15 speed skating medals, but only 1 of them gold. In 1992, representing the unified German team, they again had 9 medal placings, but this time 3 gold. In the World Championships, Gunda Niemann, a 2-time winner at Albertville, was the all-around winner for the 2nd year in a row. One man has dominated sprint speed skating for nearly a decade, Igor Zelazovsky. The man from the Commonwealth of Independent States won his first sprint title for the Soviet Union in 1985. He has now won 5 World Sprint Championships, 1985, 86, 89, 1991, and again in 1992. The story of Yi Shibo of China is one of perseverance and sheer determination. After losing 2 Olympic races in Albertville by 18 100ths and 2 100ths of a second, Shibo battled back to triumph in the World Sprint Championships at Oslo. Short track speed skating is relatively new to the International Skating Union, although indoor racing has been in vogue since the early 1900s. Indoor or short track devotees brought the sport to the ISU in the early 1950s, but it was the 1970s before trial championships were held. The first official ISU short track championships took place in 1978. Compared to the classic longer distance races, short track is more fierce, risks more obvious. Close proximity of racers create great drama. Kim Ki-hoon won Korea's first Olympic Winter Games gold at Albertville. Shortly afterwards, he won at all 4 distances to dominate the World Championships at Denver. Steered into the Olympic Games as a demonstration sport in 1988 by ISU President Olaf Poulsen, short track became official in the Olympics in 1992 and will have an expanded role in the future. Korea dominates the sport at the moment, owning both the individual and team championships. Kim So-hee won the women's title in 1992.